This property report is powered by realestate.com.au. Know the value of your home today. Track your property now.
Welcome back to Property Now, and a new report has found that across more than half of the available homes currently on the market, it's actually cheaper to buy a property than rent. That's according to the team at REA Insights. And joining us now to discuss their findings is John Healy from realestate.com.au. John, for many people watching this, it will seem quite counterintuitive when we see the surge in property prices at the moment. How did you arrive at your findings?
Well, good afternoon. And based on current prices and a 10-year analysis of all the costs associated with buying and renting, the report did find that it would actually be cheaper to buy than rent 56.8% of dwellings around Australia over the next decade. The REA Insights Buy or Rent report found very favourable buying conditions in Australia despite those surging prices, and that's largely due to the record low interest rates that we're seeing and that will be in the market for some time. The analysis also assumed that buyers would have a 20% deposit, which is a big hurdle for many buyers looking to get into the market. And where you live will also determine where more homes are cheaper to buy than rent. Looking around Australia now, we can see that the analysis shows that the great majority of houses outside of New South Wales and Victoria are cheaper to buy than rent over the next decade. Between 98.5% and 69.8% of homes in Queensland, the Northern Territory, Western Australia, South Australia, Tasmania and the ACT are cheaper to buy, while just 31% of homes in New South Wales are cheaper to buy and 25% of homes in Victoria were found to be cheaper to buy over the next 10 years. When we look at units now, these numbers change slightly. New South Wales, there are 55% of units in that stage cheaper to buy than rent, while in Victoria there's 62% of units cheaper to buy and rent. But in fact, the argument to buy becomes even stronger around the remaining 6 states and territories, where almost 100% of units in those areas were found to be cheaper to buy.
OK, John, looking at a suburb level, where can house buyers expect to find monthly savings?
Well, looking around the suburbs of our greater capital city regions now, we can see that home buyers in Tacoma, which is on the New South Wales Central Coast, can save as much as, or nearly as much as $600 a month by buying a 3-bedroom house rather than renting. Also savings in Waterford Park in Melbourne, which is around 70 kilometres north of the Melbourne CBD, almost $500 worth of savings there. And savings to be found in Kilcoy in Brisbane, Elizabeth South in Adelaide and Coombs in the ACT, with more than $1,000 better off for buyers in that suburb.
All right,
if we look now at units around the country, we can also see that Kangiangi, also on the New South Wales Central Coast, has good buying there. Buyers of 2-bedroom units would be $1,200 better off buying an apartment there. Also good savings in Frankston North in Melbourne, Brisbane City, Glanville in Adelaide and the city area around Canberra, where there's as much as $1,600 to be saved per month by buying over renting.
Well, it seems a lot of people are keen to buy now. John, are clearance rates still strong?
Well, clearance rates around our major capital city markets were very strong again last week, sitting between the 78% and 100% clearance rate. If we have a look at Sydney there, a 91.1% clearance rate. It was the 12th week in a row that Sydney has now recorded a clearance rate in excess of 90%. So it speaks to the very high levels of buyer demand in that market. Melbourne, 82.4%, was down 4% stopped actually on the clearance rate a week earlier. But still, considering the volume of homes going to market in Melbourne this year, that is a very good result. And Canberra recorded a 100% clearance rate. It's third week out of 4 that Canberra, on the auction results available, has recorded that perfect score.
Still very strong indeed. John, what's the market looking like this weekend?
Well, we're expecting more than 2,400 homes to go to auction around our major capital city markets this weekend. That's an increase of 36% week on week. Sydney expecting 827. That's up 38% on its number last week. Melbourne also returns to Super Saturday territory. More than 1,100 homes set to go to auction in Melbourne this weekend. Brisbane, Adelaide and the ACT also expecting some very good numbers. And we're looking ahead to next week. We actually are forecasting that both Sydney and Melbourne will have more than 1,000 homes go to auction in each market there next weekend. So plenty of buying activity to be happening in the coming weeks.
Yeah, looks like it. Another busy weekend ahead. John Healy, thank you so much for your time.